Okay, it's time for Stuff I Like, actually, today. We're going to do that. We're actually not going to leave the theme entirely. There's going to be a connection here, but what I want to talk to you about is the best superhero movie, actually. So I think I may have mentioned before, but like the godfather of superhero movies is, well, the Dark Knight trilogy, but the Dark Knight in particular. I absolutely love this movie. And one reason I love it is because it has a lot of political philosophy, actually. And I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but we definitely see an example of it. So you probably know, like, especially at the end of the movie, there's this very interesting ending, right? Like the way that Batman takes the blame for the deaths that Two-Face commits. So there's actually a connection between that and the Republic of Plato. And the connection is this idea of the noble lie, okay? And this is definitely one of the more controversial parts to political philosophy or the Republic. I ultimately, this is a tricky thing to get. Well, let me get into it. In Book 3 of the Republic, when Socrates is talking with his friends about justice, they figure that to try to grasp what justice really is that they have to create this imaginary city, okay? And so they start creating it. They say that they're going to need like the warrior class, and they're going to need all these different elements in order for the city to work. But the problem is that it is, in fact, very difficult to maintain a political regime, okay? Like, what does it take? Well, it does take a class of warriors. Why? Well, because even if you start getting the regime to get better and better and better, like we were talking about what the statesman is trying to do to get it better and better, well, you will have barbarians at the doors looking at your very beautiful city with its libraries, right, where people are studying up virtue and all these things, right? You have great agriculture and you have all these riches. Well, of course, the barbarians are coming in and they're going to try to take it away. A regime will always need to defend itself. And so there's always this very delicate balance between improving a regime and maintaining a regime. And sometimes what is necessary, that is to say, sometimes they go against each other. That the more you try to improve the regime, the more you leave it open to predation. The more you weaken it in its ability to maintain itself. It's the whole divide about liberal and conservative, the change versus the conserving part. It's difficult to have both of those elements just kind of in perfect fluctuation. They tend to clash a bit. So anyway, one thing then that is necessary for the city is for the city to defend itself. But how in the world do you persuade citizens to defend the city, right? It's one of the trickiest things about politics. How do we have soldiers? How do we make soldiers out of citizens? They have to really believe in the regime. They have to believe that it's something good. Or they also have to kind of see that it's like a part of themselves. Well, in Book 3 of the Republic, then, Plato says that it's going to be necessary to tell the guardians this lie, this noble lie. So the noble lie goes like this, has two parts to it in the Republic. He says that the guardians are going to be told that they were made by the gods, but that they were made by the gods from the very ground of their city. So it's kind of, the idea is like they essentially spring from the ground, right? So like if the guardians were Athenians, for instance, that means that they literally grew out of the ground in Athens. And that's the myth, that's the noble lie. And that they're essentially going to be brainwashed into believing this. Mind you that I fully believe that Plato is really saying this tongue-in-cheek. You can't just take everything that happens in the Republic at face value. To me, it's ultimately just drawing attention that there's this conflict. But anyway, so the point is they're going to be taught this. And why would they be taught that? Why would that be a noble lie? Why would that be useful? Well, obviously, because they would then see the city as a part of themselves. Love of ourselves is very natural. We want to preserve our life. We typically look after ourselves. On the contrary, it's difficult to try to get people to look outside of themselves, right? So this lie, this noble lie, is meant to. It's done for the health of the city, for the city to be maintained and protected. And the second lie is this. The idea is that in this regime, you're going to have everybody do what they're best at. So you have the ruling class, you have the warrior, soldier class, and then you have the laborers or artisans, okay, that are going to be doing everything else. And Plato says that the rulers are ultimately going to figure out how to separate people based on how skilled they are. Like they're supposed to kind of pay attention to their nature when they're kids. But the noble lie is that they're going to tell the kids, presumably, that when they were made by the gods, that they were given certain metals in their blood. So the ruling class have gold in their blood, and the warriors have silver in their blood, or I guess in their tissue. I can't remember, but anyway, in their body, and the laborers have bronze in their body or their blood, right? How do these people know that? Well, I don't know. That's the point. It's this lie, right? But what they're really doing in practice is they're actually putting everybody in place according to their ability, right? Which ideally, again, this is he's just drawing attention to this particular problem. So why? What's the point of telling them this lie then? Like, why is it the case that that this is helpful? And in my opinion, that's because the first lie is going to protect the city from foreign threat, because the warriors are going to know what to do, that they're going to fight for their country because it's their country, right? The fatherland, the motherland, this idea, right? But what about the other lie? Well, the other lie is to protect the country from within. Right? Because if everybody knows their place, like, they'll probably won't question as much, like, oh, I bet the city could be run in a better way. Oh, just kidding. I'm a laborer. I forgot to have bronze in my veins. So that's not really for me to decide. So anyway, it's kind of fascinating. This noble lie then. All right, so I want you to see how that relates to what we're going to see here in The Dark Knight. So let's actually watch the clip. And as you watch it, try to see what the connection is.
Dad? Dad, is he okay?
Thank you.
You don't have to thank me.
Yes, I do. The Joker won. Harvey's prosecution, everything you fought for. Undone. Whatever chance you gave us of fixing our city dies with Harvey's reputation. We bet it all on him. The Joker took the best of us and tore him down. People will lose hope.
They won't. They must never know what he did.
5 dead. 2 of them cops. You can't speak that.
do those things because I'm not a hero. Not like that. I killed those people. That's what I can be.
No, you can't. You're not.
I'm whatever Gotham needs me to be. Call it in.
A hero. Not the hero we deserved, but the hero we needed. Nothing less than a knight. Shining. I'll hunt you.
You'll hunt me. You'll condemn me. Set the dogs on me. Because that's what needs to happen. Because sometimes truth isn't good enough. Sometimes people deserve more. Sometimes people deserve to have their faith rewarded.
Batman! Batman! Why is he running, Dad?
Because we have to chase him.
Okay, we're going in. Go!
He didn't do anything wrong.
Because he's the hero Gotham deserves. But not the one it needs right now. So we'll hunt him. Because he can take it. Because he's not our hero. He's a silent guardian. A watchful protector. A dark knight.
Okay, so I find that fascinating. That you do, that's exactly an example of a noble lie, right? So for me, in the Dark Knight, I see the Joker as representing actually the Thrasymachus point of view, really the postmodern point of view, that there is no truth, right? That there's no truth, and you know what? Let's just have chaos then, right? Let's just have our own way. And of course, the Joker is trying to get some kind of a relish by seeing everybody else fail in their adherence to principle and their belief that there is objective truth in the world and that we can live according to it, right? So what does Batman think then? It's like he doesn't really trust the people to handle the truth, though. He thinks that if the truth is presented to them unvarnished, that they would actually kind of lose faith, and that the Joker would win. That the Joker would win. Oh man, Harvey Dent didn't really believe all those things. So then we're going to take this Thrasymachus idea that it's all corrupt, and take the cynical view that maybe there is no such thing as true justice or something like this, right? But the Joker can't win. So we can't just present the truth about things unvarnished. And that is absolutely true in political philosophy as well. Like the statesman can't just go in to a regime and just knock everything down and establish what's correct. Sometimes the truth is hard, right? And it's hard to just make a quick transition. I like to think of the regime as a house, as a big house. And could the house be better or worse? Well, sure. It could be kind of rickety, or it could be more stable. It could have beautiful, doors and walls and everything else. The rooms nice and comfortable and everything else, right? You could have a better house, or you could have a worse house, right? But sometimes in order to make the house better, you have to go in and poke around in the foundations. And what can happen if you're poking around like that? Well, the whole thing could come tumbling down, right? You start to question, if you start to question what the regime holds as true, the opinions that they adhere to, if you start messing around with that, the whole society can lose faith in the regime. You can have chaos. And that's what the Joker's trying to do. He's an agent of chaos, right? He's trying to get the citizens of Gotham to lose faith in their city. Batman doesn't think that the people are ready for the truth, so he presents this lie. It's fascinating. Now, ultimately, I wouldn't condone it. You know, I don't know. Perhaps there might be a situation where maybe you kind of play fast and loose with it a little bit. I don't know. Ultimately, I would say that there's always a way to do things right. And as a matter of fact, that's what you kind of see in The Dark Knight Rises, right? So whereas the theme in The Dark Knight is this idea of not losing faith, right? And not allowing the Joker to have his victory. In The Dark Knight Rises, the whole theme is it's time for truth to have its day. Doesn't like Alfred say something like that, you know, Master Bruce, maybe it's time for truth to have its day in the sun, or something like that, he says. But I think the whole point of it is to illustrate that conflict, that there is this conflict in the regime, the conflict of how do you make it better, but still how do you allow it to survive? It's hard, and that is the political art. That's the art of the statesman. That's why it's difficult to have a good statesman.